If you live in Canada and you do some of your kaiju shopping on Amazon Canada, I wanted to let you know that I am now an affiliate of Amazon Canada, and I actually have my own storefront where I aggregate new products all in one place to make it easier for you to find exactly what you're looking for. I'm a little bit too embarrassed to tell you exactly how many times I refresh Amazon every day to see if new stuff is coming out, but now I actually have somewhere to put it that benefits both you and I. For example, did you know that the Hayatoy's female Muto and the 1991 Hokkaido Godzilla suit were both up on Amazon Canada, direct for sale from Amazon for a price lower than MSRP? I'd be willing to bet that you didn't, because these things came and went very, very quickly. But now that I have my own storefront on Amazon Canada, I can add these things to a location when I see them come up for sale, and you can simply save this storefront as a bookmark that you can check so that you can stay on top of new releases as they come in. I think it's a bit of a win-win situation. I make, I think, like 2% of each purchase, while you get to save some time while you're trying to find the things that you're looking for. If there's anything missing from the storefront that you frequently go to Amazon for, let me know in the comment section down below and I can add a category for those types of things. And with that, let's talk about the latest SH MonsterArts reveal. Yesterday, Tamashii Nations unveiled their Shin Godzilla orthochromatic Shin Godzilla. And this announcement comes hot on the heels of the Blu-ray release of Shin Godzilla Ortho, which is basically a grayscale version of Shin Godzilla 2016. It's basically Shin Godzilla minus color. And it's important to note that this is not the only representation of Shin Godzilla Ortho out there. X Plus has revealed their own grayscale version of Shin Godzilla. The Bandai Movie Monster series is doing a standalone Awakening grayscale version, and then a 3-pack of the different forms throughout the movie. So across the board, it seems like all of these different lines are celebrating the home release of Shin Godzilla Ortho. Now, for those of you out there that enjoy this franchise, enjoy this hobby a little bit more casually, it's quite possible that Shin Godzilla Ortho just completely flew under your radar. When Shin Godzilla was released here domestically, at least here in Canada, I can't really speak to the US, back in 2016, it didn't stay in theaters very long. I think we only had 2 days worth of showings. It was the same for Shin Ultraman, and not every theater picked it up. And I actually had to travel about 45 minutes away, maybe even a little bit longer, in order to get to a theater that was playing the movie. This was completely unlike the release of Godzilla Minus One, which was basically in every theater around me for 2 months total. And so I think it's safe to say that, at least in the casual moviegoer's eye, Shin Godzilla flew under the radar way more than Godzilla Minus One did. And then back in the fall of 2023, there was this big announcement on Godzilla Twitter. We were announcing Shin Godzilla Ortho, and it didn't really provide any additional details at the time of the announcement. So we were wondering, like, what does that mean? Or at least I was. Maybe I was just out of the loop. And then very soon after that, we realized, oh, it's going to be a black and white version of Shin Godzilla. And then it released at the end of October over in Japan. And I think that it went well. I think people liked it. But I think that the conversation was definitely being overshadowed by Godzilla Minus One. But here we are about 6 months later, and now the movie is being released on Blu-ray over in Japan, and now these companies are releasing their figure representations of the grayscale Shin Godzilla. And in some ways, I feel as though this release is one of the more defining releases of SH MonsterArts' general strategy. I said in a video a couple of weeks ago that Japan is Bandai's primary audience with MonsterArts, and with their products in general, but let's just talk about MonsterArts for specificity. Bandai takes an approach of, we will make this available for the Japanese market, and we will also open it up for the rest of the world to partake, understanding that that's not where their primary focus is. And so when Bandai puts out surveys asking folks what they would like to see in the MonsterArts lineup, those surveys are only really available to folks in Japan, or at least if you don't VPN it or whatever. The intention is that the Japanese market fills out the survey. And it's important to note that back in October, Tamashii put Ortho Shin Godzilla on their survey and asked folks if this is something that they would like to see. And I think that this is really important, because you see some folks online, for the most part, I think people that aren't interested in this release are just saying, I'm just going to skip it, but, you know, happy for those who want it. But there are definitely some folks out there saying, this, you know, who asked for this? Nobody asked for this. This space could have been reserved for a new figure or a repaint that more people would be interested in. And I don't think that it's an unreasonable assumption to say that enough people participated in the survey that Bandai felt comfortable putting out this release thinking that it will sell. Now, the counter argument is to say, well, they also put Scar King on the survey not too long ago, and they've put out a teaser for a Scar King figure, so clearly they didn't really need audience input, and they've already decided to release that figure. So maybe Shin Godzilla was the same way. They were always going to make the Ortho version, and audience demand had no impact. And that might be true to an extent. I'm not going to say for certain that it's not. One thing I forgot to say during filming was that -1 Color sold out very quickly on the premium Bandai website, and this likely gave Bandai more confidence in a release such as this, regardless of whether the decision had already been made. I think that this as a Bandai premium release makes, well, first of all, it makes way more sense than Godzilla Evolved, but I think that takes some of the edge and some of the pressure off of Bandai to like mass release this thing at a lower price and potentially take a huge hit on folks not picking it up. Make it a Bandai premium release. You make it a little bit more expensive because not as many people are going to buy it, but then everyone who wants one is able to get one. In theory, anyway. Sure, it makes you think that Scar King is going to be a Bandai premium release too, if Godzilla Evolved wasn't already the indicator. But in saying that this release is defining of what SH MonsterArts is trying to do, I want to show you this comment that I came across. I'm going to censor the username of the person because I believe that they're a regular viewer, and I don't think that this comment is malicious or overly negative. I think it's just coming from a place of not understanding what Tamashii is trying to do. So this person writes, I have Night Combat version, and the only other variant I would ever want is Awakening. Besides, the orthochromatic version of the movie isn't available anywhere other than Japan. And to me, this is like a really funny comment because Tamashii Nation's primary audience is in Japan. And so if you have this movie that only released in Japan, they're making a variant that is primarily targeted toward Japan, that the rest of us just are allowed the opportunity to partake in, then the conclusion is that Tamashii is playing to the audience that they know they have. And so if at any point you find yourself wondering, why is Tamashii not catering more to the US market or the Western market or anywhere else outside of Japan, you should remember this release and remember what they're doing here. Am I going to pick this up? Probably not. I think it looks cool. I have a NECA Shin Godzilla, and for the $25 US that it costs, I think it's fine. It serves a purpose on my shelf. For a design like Shin Godzilla, who was always rather stiff on screen, I am actually waiting for Haya to do their version because I care more about the accuracy of the figure than its ability to move and to be dynamic. So I'm holding out for a Haya Shin Godzilla. I do think that similar to the maquette version of this figure, this mold, I do think that a simpler color scheme really works to highlight the details that are present in the sculpt, and I'm pretty stoked for the folks that like this and will pick it up. So will you be grabbing Shin Godzilla Ortho version or not? Are you going to skip it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank all of the Category 3 channel members for their continued support, as well as everyone else that watches, likes, and comments. Twitter and Discord links are in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.